It is currently about 8:30 a.m., Friday, October 3rd. Taylor's new album just dropped last night, The Life of a Showgirl. Usually we do Swiftie Song Roulette, where I spin a wheel, I listen, react for the very first time, and then I go in and analyze the chords, provide a chord chart, and do some other analysis and just basic chatting. Today's going to be a little bit different though. We're just going to go right into it. Now the entire concept behind this was to listen, react, write out the chart as if I had to play this song for a last minute gig, which would be probably tonight or tomorrow night. So we're going to keep that mentality. I'm going to watch the video, go back, we'll analyze the chords, we'll figure out the key, all that stuff, and then I'm going to give you guys a chart. So let's get right into it. This is the title track, Life of a Showgirl, featuring Sabrina Carpenter, and here we go. All right, Life of a Showgirl, featuring Sabrina Carpenter. We're going in.
Her name was Kitty, made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her the keys to this city, then they said she didn't do it legitly.
Okay.
I bought a ticket.
Ooh, here we go. I'm liking the feel of this one so far. So we have, sounds like two different types of kick drums in there. We got the stomp claps going. Obviously the vocals are coming in. And then, we have a little bit of just acoustic guitar chords going in the background. Good thing I brought the acoustic guitar today. This thing, I'm really impressed. This has managed to stay on my stand for, this is the third week now. One of the videos I mentioned, I pull this thing out a couple times a year. So good old standby acoustic guitar. Anywho, we're going to continue rolling here. Let's see how this song progresses.
She's dancing in her garters and fishnets. 50 in the cast, 0 missteps. Looking back, I guess it was kismet. I waited by the stage door, packed in with
Here comes the bass.
autograph hounds, barking her name, then glowing like the end of a cigarette. Wow, she came out. I said, "You live in my dream." Then she said to me, "Hey, thank you for the lovely bouquet. You're sweeter than a peach."
Okay. We've got some background harmonies going on there, additional vocals. I hear a kind of soft, what they call a synth pad going in the background, just kind of coming in. I really like how the song is coming together so far.
Don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never ever gonna wait. The more you play, the more that you pay. You're softer than a kitten, so you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never gonna wanna. She was a menace.
Oh man, that drum track's great. Oh, here we go. Little modulation. So I heard a little bit of steel guitar coming in the background, and a modulation. There's kind of two different music terms for modulation. This one is going to be, it could be a key change. It could just be like a slight shift within the existing chords. The other term has to do with like kind of swirly guitar effects. But yeah, let's see here. We got a key change. I'm going to back this up a touch here.
She was a menace, the baby of the family in Lennox. Her father whored around like a
Sounds
bandit.
really
Her
good.
mother took pills and played tennis. So she waited by the stage door, asked the club promoter arrived. She said, "I'd sell my soul to have a taste of a magnificent life. It's all mine." But that's not what showgirls get. They leave us for dead. Hey, thank you for the lovely bouquet.
I think you're going back into the original key here.
Sweeter than a peach, but you
I was just thinking a little bit. First of all, this has a really, really good feel to it. I like the drops and the dynamics in this one. So far, it sounds like there's basically only like 3 chords in this pattern, and then that little kind of key shift back into the other one. I don't know. We'll figure out when I pick up my guitar. But I'll be honest, this is 100% pop, but I just can't help but feel a little bit of those country vibes in the background, you know, with the stomp claps, the little bit of steel guitar going. Yeah, some of those drops. All right, yeah, this is a really nice one so far. Let's keep it rolling.
Don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never ever gonna wait. The more you play, the more that you pay. You're softer than a kitten, so you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never gonna wanna. I took her pearls of wisdom, hung them from my neck. I paid my dues with every bruise. I knew what to.
There's nice little hits there.
Take a skate on the ice inside my veins. They ripped me off like false lashes in the.
I mean, that kind of just sounds like, you know, obviously we have the kind of driving percussion in the background, but just kind of quick string hits across the board. I'm hearing that harmonization going on in the background. I don't know if that's actually the...
Away, and all the headshots
Here we go.
on the walls of the dance hall or of the bitches who wish I'd hurry up.
Nice. I love the strings.
But I'm immortal now.
Ooh.
Baby dolls. I
Ooh.
couldn't if.
Oh, that nice little piano roll and drop. And I mean, this song's kind of morphing. And, man. So good. So good.
I tried, so I say thank you for the lovely bouquet. I'm married to the hustle, and now I know the life of a showgirl, babe. And I'll never know another pain hidden by the lipstick.
That reverb sounds really good on those.
Forever, and now I know the life of a showgirl, babe. Wouldn't have it
I'm kind of a reverb aficionado. Vocal Oz in the background. Oh man. There are a ton of tracks going on. Like if you were to pull this up on a multi-track digital audio workstation, there'd be tons of tracks going on this one. But it sounds so good. I love this high kind of, it's not really overproduction style. I know some people have mentioned that, but I don't think you can have too many tracks when you're recording stuff. It just kind of enhances it. Now, you know, outside of fancy recording studios and stuff, you can get some ambient sound and white noise going on. But, you know, they've got all the gear to make that not be an issue. Man, I love the instrumentation in this. And just the overall feel. I know that in a recent interview I watched, Taylor mentioned that, you know, this might be her favorite album that she's recorded so far. And I mean, gosh, the production style is just amazing on this. So epic. Give it up to the band, everybody. Here we go. All right, that's it. All right, I'm back. Okay, so I got about most of the way through this entire video, and, you know, I started getting into the transcription. Then I had to stop. I had to go do stuff. And, yeah, I've had some time to sit back and reflect on this. I did go ahead and do the transcription off video, so we'll run through the whole song here in just a minute. But I decided to go ahead and listen to this entire album from front to back, and I've actually listened to it a couple times already. It's pretty awesome. I really like just the whole vibe and concept behind this album, and it's really nice to hear Taylor do some fun stuff. You know, the songs that we've been doing have been pretty heavy, emotionally speaking, so it's nice to kind of have a sort of a concept song and concept album. Now, I wanted to point out one thing that I really noticed about this song is all the layers. You know, there are multiple different guitar parts that, you know, don't really sound like multiple guitar parts. You know, they're playing different inversions and basically different ways to play the same chords across the guitar, which happens to be one of the confusing things about learning guitar is the multiple different ways that you can play the same exact thing. But we'll go over those chords here in just a minute. I wanted to say before I started, musically speaking, this is almost like, it's almost like a show tune. You know, I mentioned in the reaction part that I was feeling some country vibes in there, which, you know, the Nashville songwriting convention, you know, there's a structure to it, and there's a way that you do things, and there's a way that you can modify chords and, you know, breaks and stuff to make it interesting and unique. But this whole bridge section, chef's kiss. This bridge section is almost straight out of Tin Pan Alley. Now, if you don't know what Tin Pan Alley is, it was basically a place in New York City where all of these songwriters, you know, back in the days of, you know, early Broadway and jazz tunes, all these songwriters lived in a small area within one block, and were just cranking out songs left and right that basically turned into all the songs of the American Songbook. This bridge has like a kind of Tin Pan Alley vibe to it. I'll get to it here in just a moment, but let's go ahead and get into these chords. All right, so the song, you know, it starts off with the stomp claps, and then you have kind of that synth pad just playing the chords over the background before the guitars come in. Now, speaking of that, there's a very, very trebly kind of sound to the guitars, and kind of higher in pitch. I'm pretty sure they're using guitars here, and it almost kind of has like a mandolin quality to it, but I think it's acoustic guitar. I know that in one of the videos I saw Taylor playing an Ovation guitar, which kind of have these rounded backs to them, and there's a lot of contours to it, which in turn, you know, creates, and a lot of times there are little sound holes up here in the Ovations. I can't remember if hers had that or not, but those have a really kind of bright, trebly sound to it. I don't know if that's exactly what they're doing with that, or if, you know, the capos kind of can create that sound too, because there's, you know, less distance between the bridge and wherever the chord is capoed off, or wherever the fret is capoed off. And also, I mean, there could be some 12-string guitar. I really don't know. I can't tell. But the notes are notes. We're going to get into that. So the very first part, when the guitars come in, you know, I think they're kind of playing up here in this area. You know, this would be basically a G inversion right there. And then it gets into an A minor chord. Now, I think it's technically an A minor 7th chord, which there's an A minor in the root, but the upper part of the A minor 7th chord is basically a C chord, C, E, G. So if you play just the top part of the C, you know, this would be based off of the C bar chord, based off of your 6-string root. But if you just play these top 3 strings, the G string, the B string, and the E string, you're going to be playing 9th fret, 8th fret, 8th fret. And then the G, I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but the G is going to be, if you're at the 7th fret, starting from the G string, the 3rd string, and moving upward, you have 7th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret. So, and that is going to be an F. Okay, that's based off of your F root here on the 5th string at the 8th fret. But you're playing that higher part, that upper part of it. So starting from the G string, you're going to be 10th fret, 10th fret, 8th fret. Ooh. So all together, okay, so that's kind of the first part. Goes through some of the lyrics, and then there's this little pre-chorus section, or just kind of one bar of chords or 2 bars of chords that transitions into the chorus section. So after you play this, I really don't know the melody line there, but it goes into this set of chords. I think we're doing an E minor right there. So, and these chords kind of move around quickly. All right, so your E minor, starting from the G string and moving up to the high E string, is going to be 9th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret. And that's based off your E minor chord, E minor bar chord that's based off the 5th string root right there. Okay. F, we already played that one. All right, and then we're playing a D suspended 4th. Now, the way I usually play a D suspended 4th down here in the root position, you know, you have your regular D chord. You can kind of play around between the suspended 2nd and the suspended 4th on the D chord. That'd be the 4th. That's the major 3rd that creates the D major chord. You drop your 2nd finger there, and then you're just playing a suspended 2nd chord. Anyway, there's your D suspended 2nd or suspended 4th right there. Sorry, I keep messing that up. But if we're gonna play it up here, you could play it like that. I think that's how I'm gonna play it for this version. Okay, so starting from the G string and moving up, we've got the 7th fret, 8th fret, and the 5th fret. So there's a little bit of a stretch here with your forefinger. So those chords right there would be G, E minor, F, D suspended 4th. Now, if you don't want to play the D suspended 4th, you know, that's kind of a transitionary chord. It sounds like they're doing that suspended 4th, to me there at least, but if you don't feel like messing with that, you could play a D chord. Now, those two notes may clash a little bit. Right there. So you have to watch out for that. But D is basically the D chord, major chord, is going to be the strong part of this entire thing. So people mess around with that all the time, like I said. Okay. All right, so we have the first part. Okay, so it does that 5 times, then it goes G, E minor, F, okay, there's another chord there. So we're kind of repeating the same chords. It's moving faster through that second part of the phrase. The chords are, at least. This time, instead of turning it around with that D suspended 4th chord, it kind of sounds like they're doing a C suspended 2nd chord. So that was this chord that I played right here. All right. You can also play your C suspended 2nd down here. I'm going to play it up here. All right, so all together that chorus is going to be, you have your G, all right. Okay, then it breaks down for a little bit, for 1 bar basically, and the second verse comes in. When that second verse comes in, here's another Tin Pan Alley thing, we're modulating to the 4 chord. Of G, which is going to be C. So we're going to be going into the key of C. It's a key change. Okay, and those chords, they kind of sound a little bit, to me, lower in tone, but I mean, notes are notes. You can kind of play this wherever. You know, this is basically going to be the idea of if I was the only guitarist playing this track live, and I had, you know, keys, bass, drums, and vocals going along, you kind of have to pick and choose your battles as far as what part of the register and the range that you're working with. But I wasn't going to put it down here. So this is going to be, if I was to do the 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, we're playing 10th fret, 9th fret, 8th fret. And that is a C note. You know, that's going to be based off of your C major bar chord, based off the root here. So C. Then the next chord is going to be D minor and then B flat. I wrote a D minor 7th down here. You can decide whether or not you want to play that or not, but if you want to just play a regular B minor or D minor, you can play that right here. I'll probably just play. I wrote down on my chart D minor 7th just to keep the consistency between the A section of chords. But I just play a D minor right here. So I'm basically going to focus on the 4th string, the 3rd string, and the 2nd string. Alright, so there's your D minor. There's your B flat major. B flat there at the 6th string, 6th fret root. We're just playing these 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. So the fret numbers are going to be 7th fret, 7th fret, 6th fret. That's your D minor. B flat major is going to be 8th fret, 7th fret, 6th fret. And that is the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. And then we can just slide that same pattern up 2 frets to get back to the C major. They drop it down there. You know, when we're going, you play that 3 times, and then on the 4th time through, you drop out for basically a measure, and then you come back in with that D minor and B flat chord before we go into those, what I'm calling pre-chorus chords. This is what I'm referring to as the C2 section. I'll show you this chart here in a minute. All right, so we're playing that C, D minor, B flat major, pre-chorus set of chords. You have your C major, A minor. I'm playing A minor 7th there, so there's the A minor. On these 3 strings here, we're starting from the D string. We've got 7th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret. That's your A minor chord. So C, A minor, B holds on to that B. I'm sorry, B flat holds on to that B flat right there. And then it cuts out. And they play the before they go into the 2nd chorus there. And that chord would pretty much be like if it kept the same chord structure as the A section, or I guess technically this is the A2 section since it's the pre-chorus, we'd be playing a G suspended 4th right there, but everything drops out. And then what do you know? Back into the chorus, G. So it holds off there and drops back into the original key of G. So then it goes back into that 2nd chorus there with basically the same chords. Your G, A minor, F, G, E minor, F, then we have, there it is, C suspended 2nd there. Alright, so then these are just kind of string hits here in the bridge section. We got a G major, G dominant 7, C, C minor, and it just plays those. G, G dominant 7, C, C minor. Alright, and then this chord was kind of throwing me off a little bit. This at first when I heard it, it sounded like some kind of altered chord. So I was thinking, you know, this is probably an augmented chord of some sort. So I was listening for Taylor's melody line when it breaks down in that first chord to kind of spell this chord out a little bit. And I was like, okay, it's probably like some kind of G augmented chord. So yeah, I was thinking it was like a G augmented chord there. But then I was like, you know, that does also kind of have some similar notes as another chord that I've really only ever played in jazz songs before. I mean, like, My Funny Valentine does this chord. That's the first one that popped into my head, but kind kind of the same note as a minor major seventh chord. So basically you're playing a minor chord, but you're adding a major seventh into it as opposed to either the octave or the minor seventh. So that kind of sounds a little bit like that. That would be a C minor major 7 chord. Kind of a wacky name, minor major, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So we've got the G. If you really want to hear the dominant 7, you can start here. Then the C minor. Then we have a D, dominant 7, which happens to be your 5 chord, which means that we're probably going to be going back to the 1 for the verse. So, like I mentioned earlier, this is some straight up Tin Pan Alley stuff right here. Very nice and composed. So, and I love how those chords, that piano roll on the on that minor major 7th chord, or augmented, however you want to do that. It's part of a G augmented chord. And then, but yeah, 4 to 5, that's classic movement. So yeah, that's why I'm saying it is a C minor major 7th chord. Moving up to the D dominant 7, you can also play your D dominant 7th chord right here. A bunch of other places you can play it, but in this vicinity, there's another way to play it. All right, so that's the bridge section. All right, and then you're back into the B section of chords, or the chorus chords, which we've done before. You have your G. And, obviously, I'm going to show you the chart here in just a second. You can play down here these chords. G. No one's stopping you from doing that. You can play it on piano. So that would be, then B section. So you could just play that down here. Then, you can play the C section down here. Oh, what is that last chord? It would be a G, but they leave that G chord out on this whole second verse section. Then we're back into... There, now you can hear it. There's that dominant 7th right there. Your C minor is going to be much easier to play right here with the bar chord. I don't know the exact melody there. What was that? F. A minor. C suspended 2nd. And then it plays that basically all the way to the end of the song. And it does the fade out. And it says give it up for the band too, something to that effect. So you got to give it up for the band there. Speaking of giving it up for the band, band's getting down on this chord chart here. This is a pretty good one. So I'm not sure if you can see that. Well, here I'm going to stand up so I can see the screen a little bit better. This is my sloppy own notation. Now, initially when I wrote this out, I charted out every single line because there was some stuff going on, especially in the two pre-chorus sections, that was kind of throwing me off. I was like, I need to really map this out. And so I wrote out every single measure in this song. I was thinking about doing kind of more of a lead sheet style, but this is really my favorite kind of notation. I'm sure I'm not the only person to do this, but this is how I prefer it. I like to get it all on one sheet, even if it's a long song, and I can go back from the actual chord progressions here, and I can map it out down here and kind of follow along. Now, I can read my sloppy handwriting. I don't know if you can or not, but let's just go through this real quick. So the A section, this is slightly different from what they're playing in the intro. The intro chords are going to be a little bit more like this pre-chorus set of chords. So it does the A section. It goes through that 5 times. This is after the intro and the stomp claps. On the 6th time, it moves down here to the A2 section, where it basically repeats these chords, but it goes in a little bit faster and holds onto this F chord. Then chorus. That's these two chords right here. Okay, so chorus section is going to be the B section here. All right, there are your chords for that. Then we go, drops out for just one bar, basically. Where are we at here? I have this written down as interlude stomp claps. Got to get into the stomp claps. All right, and then the second verse, and I think this might be Sabrina Carpenter on this. Taylor and Sabrina's voices just mesh together so well. I mean, they really blend together incredibly well. So I kind of had a hard time picking out who is singing what. But the second verse is going to be this C section here. It goes through that twice, and it basically, this is the C2 section leading into the pre-chorus. These are the pre-chorus chords. I did this twice, and then I wrote this down here because you're dropping out for a measure right here. Then you're picking up these last 2 chords, same chords as right there. Then we're getting into the pre-chorus chords where the rhythm is a little bit different. And then it drops out again right here. I put X's right here, say, okay, lay low right there if I'm playing that live. But that would be a G suspended 4th chord if that were in the same context of this section up here. Then, after it drops out, going back to the chorus section again, which is the B set of chords right there. After that, it goes into my favorite part, which is the bridge section, which is all right down here. G dominant 7th, C major, C minor. Does that 4 times. Then it lets ring. I wrote let ring up there if you can read that. That C minor major 7th chord. It's a minor chord with an added major 7th. Which, for the record, is just 1 half step or 1 fret below the octave if you're having a hard time finding that one. So you just have to move that 1 fret down. Okay. Then we got the final chord, the D7. That is the 5 chord of G, which is going to mean we are going back into the chorus section. G. Right there. We write out the G. It does a double chorus there, basically. Basically does this double chorus. Then it stops there just for maybe half a measure. And then it continues to do that while the song fades out into the background. And, there's some, live sound and Taylor chatting in the background, or Sabrina. I'm not sure who's saying that. I imagine it's Taylor. But anyway, one more time. Taylor Swift, Max Martin, Shellback, The Life of a Showgirl featuring Sabrina Carpenter in the key of G. Here are the chords that you need to play that song, whether it's on guitar or piano or whichever instrument you choose. And then there is the sloppy form of it down there. But, I can read it. Maybe you can make sense of it too. All right, so let's just take a quick look at the lyrics. Like I said, this one is not quite as heavy as some of the other ones. It's a lot more fun. It is really like a little more like a show tune. Like a Broadway tune, whether it's Broadway in Nashville or in New York City. So here we go. Her name was Kitty. Made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her the keys to the city. Then they said she couldn't do it legitly. Oh, I bought a ticket. She's dancing in her garters and fishnets. 50 in the cast, 0 missteps. Looking back, I guess it was Kismet. You know, which I forget. Is there a Broadway show called Kismet? I know there. It's on the tip of my tongue. Some of you may know what I'm talking about out there. But there's definitely a song that I remember that uses Kismet. Not, you know, it's not a very common word. I love words. I got my degree in linguistics, and I'm kind of a word nerd. But yeah, she's talking about setting up for the show. This character Kitty, dancing in garters and fishnets. You know, this definitely is a show tune. I waited by the stage door, packed in with the autograph hounds. You know, the paparazzi. Barking her name, then glowing like the end of a cigarette. Wow, she came out. I said, "You're living my dream." And then she said to me, "Hey, thank you for the lovely bouquet. You're sweeter than a peach. But you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe. And you're never ever gonna. Wait, the more you play, the more that you pay. You're softer than a kitten. So you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe. And you're never gonna wanna." You know, that sounds like it's someone's agent. Like, "You're never gonna know the life of a showgirl, babe." You know? All right. Second verse here. This is Sabrina Carpenter. Okay. I'm starting to hear Taylor's voice now, so I was able to parse that out. And, you know, I remember in the reaction, the second part, you know, I was really like, oh, wow, it's a big key change in this song. It's not even just going up like a half step or a whole step or something. It's going up an entire perfect fourth. But I just, the production part on this second section just really kind of got me and, you know, pulled me in for the rest of the song. Second verse. She was a menace. The baby of the family in Lennox. I don't know where Lennox is, but sorry, Lennoxians. Her father whored her around like all the men did. Her mother took pills and played tennis. So she waited by the stage door as the club promoter arrived. She said, "I'd sell my soul to have a taste of a magnificent life. That's all mine. But that's not what showgirls get. They leave us for dead." So that's basically saying, hey, you know, this is a fast-paced world, and, you know, kind of talking to someone coming into the showgirl life and getting a warning from an experienced showgirl. Which, you know, may have some significance between Taylor and Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, I know Sabrina's kind of new to the scene. I don't know how old she is, but I'm sure she's, you know, younger than Taylor, and Taylor probably can give her some lessons on how to be a professional big solo musician in this crazy world. But, you know, this is really, they're setting up this story that's being told about this dancer named Kitty and the people around her. Back into the chorus. "Hey, thank you for the lovely bouquet. You're sweeter than a peach, but you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never ever gonna. Wait, the more you play, the more that you pay. You're softer than a kitten, so you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never ever gonna wanna. Sorry. Okay, so in the bridge section, and this is almost kind of like I would say like a rap, but in the context of Tin Pan Alley and Broadway, and, you know, they're not quite singing here, but they're spitting out lyrics. This is what some would consider Singspiel, one of my favorite music terms, which is basically, literally translates to, you know, sing speak. "I took her pearls of wisdom, hung them from my neck. I paid the dues with every bruise. I knew what to expect. Do you want to take a skate on the ice inside my veins? They ripped me off like false lashes, then threw me away. And all the headshots on the walls of the dance hall are of the bitches who wish I'd hurry up and die. But I'm immortal now, baby dolls, so I couldn't if I tried. So I say." Ooh, man. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And this is definitely now totally forming the story of a showgirl talking to a younger and less experienced showgirl about, you know, the dangers of the showgirl world. "Thank you for the lovely bouquet. I'm married to the hustle, and now I know the life of a showgirl, babe, and I'll never know another. Pain hidden by the lipstick and lace. Sequins are forever, and now I know the life of a showgirl, babe. Wouldn't have it any other way. Hey, Kitty, thank you for the lovely bouquet. Now I make my money being pretty and witty. Thank you for the lovely bouquet. Now the outro. Thank you for an unforgettable night. We'll see you next time. Give it up for the band and the dancers, and of course Sabrina. I love you, Taylor. That's our show. We love you so much. Good night. All right, so what a fun song. I mean, the music, the lyrics, and then just this album is really good. This is the first Taylor Swift album that I've heard, and I was really impressed with it. I mean, it grooves all the way through. The production value is unbelievably good on this. I like a lot of layers and a lot of tracks when I do any recording on my own, and I love bands that just produce and put as many tracks on there as they possibly can. It just adds to everything inside every single song. Now, don't get me wrong, some songs are perfect when they're stripped down and it's just a handful of tracks and that's it. But, this is a showpiece of an album. And it's also a concept album. I don't know if Taylor really has any other concept albums other than kind of general thematic things, like Folklore, which I haven't listened. I can't wait to listen to that one yet. I'm going to listen to that one all the way through. And then other things, there are themes, but this is a concept from beginning to end. And I just love that. Some of my favorite bands do full-on concept albums. And those are the kind of albums where you put it in, you hit play, you listen from beginning to end, and that's it. From the musician's perspective, I'm sure it's difficult to pick a single, to launch out there. Now, I know that she just dropped the Tale of Ophelia or the Life of Ophelia. She just made the music video, and that's going to be her first single for this album. But this thing stands alone, and the sonic value of this entire album from beginning to end is so cohesive and is like one singular unit. As far as what it kind of reminds me of, I don't really the whole reason I got into this was because I got into Spotify Roulette, where I was picking random songs off Spotify so I could familiarize myself with pop music, because the only pop music I ever listened to is the stuff that I had to play for gigs in the past, or out in public when I'm, just going around and I randomly hear a song that's a huge hit that I've never heard before. Yeah, this album was great. This song was great. And I'm definitely going to go back and check this out. And I'll continue to do some of these Taylor Swift song roulette, the Swiftie song roulettes as I go. I still want to do some more guitar education stuff, so I'm going to sprinkle that in here and there over the next month or two with the upcoming videos. But this is kind of what we were building up for with this Swiftie song roulette series, is to the release of this, and then also paired with Chiefs season right back here. I don't really have a Chiefs chat section for this because Chiefs are playing Monday Night Football tonight, so they haven't played yet. But just a little look around the NFL. We had some interesting stuff happen over this last week. The Eagles lost to the Broncos, and the Broncos are in the same division as the Chiefs. I don't know if you're familiar with how the NFL as a whole is built, but you have your entire NFL. You have two conferences within the NFL. You have the AFC, the American Football League, or the American Football Conference, and the NFC, the National Football Conference. And when you have a Super Bowl, you have the winner of the AFC versus the winner of the NFC. Okay, so underneath those two conferences, you have divisions. And there are 4 divisions within each conference. And then 4 teams within each division. So the Broncos are an AFC team, and they're also in the AFC West, which is the same division that the Chiefs are in. So them beating the Eagles doesn't really help us in terms of the long march toward the playoffs, because we're in the same division. But Eagles dropped a game. They were one of the few remaining undefeated teams. Also, the Bills, who battle every single year. The Bills and the Chiefs rivalry might be one of the best long-term rivalries in recent memory. just it's always so good, and the Bills are always just so good. But they dropped a game. They dropped the game yesterday that they were playing. But yeah, the Bills ended up losing to the Patriots, who are also in the Bills division, the AFC East. So that makes it interesting. You know, there is no longer an undefeated team in the NFL, and typically I feel like, you know, it's usually a few more weeks into the season when an undefeated team loses their game, and there are no more undefeated teams in the NFL. There's only been really one undefeated team in the kind of two. This 1972 Dolphins are the only team to have a perfect season in the NFL. 1972. Also, the Patriots, and I cannot remember the year. I think it might have been 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere in that range. But the Patriots also had an undefeated season, and then they lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. So nobody's been able to beat that 1972 undefeated season for a very, very long time. And who knows when that is ever going to happen. Any team can get beat on any given Sunday, which was also the name of a movie, a football movie. Long story short here, the Chiefs are playing tonight. It was a wacky world in the NFL so far. This is going to be the last official game of this week. Is it week 4 or week 5? It's already flying by. I think it's week 5. And then next week, the Chiefs are playing Sunday Night Football versus the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are a very, very tough team. But yeah, we're playing the Detroit Lions next Sunday. That is going to be a tough one. I think that Detroit has only lost one game. And, you know, going back a couple years, you know, when Detroit got a new coach and kind of a revamped team, you know, Detroit was like, they were not very good for a very long time. And kind of like, you know, the Chiefs were not very good for a very long time. Detroit is a really, really good and really well-coached team. And they beat the Chiefs a couple years ago on the very first game of the season. And that was kind of their springboard and to a new trajectory. And they've just been dominant basically ever since. So Detroit's an NFC team and the Chiefs are AFC. So, you know, as far as season rankings and getting into the playoffs, which is way down the road, doesn't matter quite as much, but every game is meaningful and every game counts towards something in the NFL. But next Sunday night game, that one is going to be a really good one. Hopefully, I think that's at Arrowhead Stadium, and hopefully they can hang with them. And then, yeah, hopefully the Chiefs can win versus the Jaguars tonight. The day that I'm filming this, like I said, they're playing this evening on Monday Night Football. So with that, I think we're going to wrap this episode up. I want to thank you for joining me again. If this is your first time, welcome. I tend to focus more on the music side of things with these Taylor Swift reaction videos. And I'm really happy to be able to hear this new music. And I don't know, I'm sure I had a few days, so I'm sure somebody beat me to it on the internet as far as the chords. And the chords, you know, they may not be the exact chords that they did in the recording. But there's enough common stuff there that you could totally play these chords and the listener is not going to be able to tell much of a difference. I'm pretty sure these chords are pretty close, though. But what a great song. This song was really fun. The next episode, we're going to get back to spinning the wheel. We're going to get back into the fan suggestions. And then also, we're going to add a new song to the wheel. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you like this video, please do me a favor and like below. If you want to see more of this content and also more music and guitar educational content, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you around. And if you have something to say, then please leave a comment below. I read and try to respond to all the comments. So, yeah, please do that if you have something to add to this conversation or any suggestions for the channel. So, thanks again. And as always, I'll see you next time, friends.